Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
Single best idea into the August doldrums. Except it's not doldrums. Always interesting. And, of course, this up to the Jackson Hole meeting. Yesterday was extraordinary, thanks to our Washington team who had to piece together, spur of the moment, like everybody else, this absolutely historic gathering of NATO. With President Trump. Terry Haines was with us with Pangea, and he commented on the analogs or looking at the history of the 20th century versus moments before.
I think people make a huge mistake looking at this through 20th century lenses. People look at it almost like Cold War II as kind of great power on great power. How Trump is actually approaching it, and his people, principally Witkoff and Rubio, refer to this role as a mediator role, and in a lot of ways it very much is. He wants to provide some security guarantees to back up Europe, and that's fine. But he looks at himself as a mediator, but it's really, and Russia, I always think, is a client state of China. So the most important people going forward here, the most important countries, are Europe, what Europe can do, what Europe's willing to do, and what China will let Russia do. China, I think, is in a situation where it's fine with Russia getting whatever scraps it can to cover its loss. And there's no doubt that what happened in Russia is a loss, right? If you don't achieve 83% of your war aims, you've lost functionally. But this really comes down to Europe. If negotiations fail, Europe has to be willing to go the whole hog on sanctions, including taking the frozen bank accounts that they've gotten and doing something with them, ratcheting it up at a time where Russia's in economic straits. Or if they succeed, then they've got to be willing to do something meaningful on security.
Terry Haines there, and again with Pangea, I can't say enough about his effort out on LinkedIn. Hugely and always informative. Lori Calvasina stopped by. Some other great conversations today. Jim Caron of Morgan Stanley I thought was good. Kristen Bitterly from Citigroup on how the kids are having trouble figuring out what to do with mom and dad's money. It was actually a really, really important conversation. Making of the money is listening to strategists. Here's Lori Calvasina on the value of studying the mid-caps.
I think you do learn things. I'm an old small mid-cap strategist. I know we talk about that quite a bit, but I always tell people, go listen to the SMID companies because they have simpler business models. And you often will sort of get more interesting breadcrumbs of information that aren't just relevant to them, but that do apply to the S&P 500 and, kind of broader corporate profitability picture as well. So I think that you have to listen. You have to look for those interesting nuggets, not just what everybody is saying. It's often the thing that one or two companies are going to let slip out that ends up being the useful tidbit.
Lori Calvasina there with RBC Capital Markets. Countdown away to our trip to Wyoming with Lisa Abramowitz, Joe Weisenthal, and Tracy Alloway in attendance as well with the leadership of Michael McKee. On our podcasts, on Apple, on Spotify, and on YouTube podcasts, this is Single Best Idea.